Over 3 billion people on this planet play video games. 3 billion. That is more than the entire population of China and the United States combined, actively engaging with interactive digital worlds every single day. And yet, for decades, politicians, parents, and pundits have treated gaming like a social disease, something to be cured, limited, or outright banned. But what if everything they told you about video games was wrong? In the next 10 minutes, you are going to discover the real story behind gaming's impact on society, the cognitive benefits that neuroscientists are only beginning to understand, the troubling patterns that demand honest conversation, and the one finding that completely flips the mainstream narrative on its head. Because the truth about video games is far more complicated, far more fascinating, and far more important than anyone in the mainstream media is willing to admit. Let us start at the beginning. Video games did not appear out of nowhere. They have been quietly shaping human culture for over 50 years. In 1972, Atari released Pong, a simple tennis simulation that most people today would find laughably primitive. But Pong did something extraordinary. It proved that interactive entertainment could become a mass-market phenomenon. By the late 1970s, arcade cabinets were generating more annual revenue than the entire American film industry. People were not just passively watching stories anymore. They were living inside them. The home console revolution of the 1980s brought gaming directly into living rooms. The Nintendo Entertainment System single-handedly rescued a collapsed American video game market and introduced iconic franchises that persist to this day. Mario, Link, Samus, these were not just characters. They were cultural touchstones that shaped an entire generation's imagination and sense of possibility. By the 1990s, gaming was no longer a niche hobby. It was a dominant entertainment format competing directly with television, film, and music. Fast forward to today, and the numbers are staggering. The global video game industry generates over $220 billion annually. That is more than the global film and music industries combined. Esports tournaments fill stadiums that once hosted only traditional sports. Games like Minecraft have sold over 238 million copies, making it the best-selling entertainment product in human history. And yet the cultural conversation around gaming still treats it as a lesser medium, something frivolous, something to feel guilty about. That disconnect is exactly where things get interesting. Here is what nobody talks about when it comes to cognitive impact. A landmark study published in the journal Nature found that action video game players demonstrate significantly enhanced visual attention, faster reaction times, and superior ability to track multiple objects simultaneously. Researchers at the University of Rochester spent years documenting how first-person shooter games, yes, the exact genre that gets blamed for everything, actually train the brain to process sensory information more efficiently. Surgeons who played video games for more than 3 hours per week made 27% fewer errors during laparoscopic procedures than non-gaming colleagues. The military has used simulation-based gaming technology to train soldiers in crisis decision-making for decades. These are not small findings. These are peer-reviewed results that fundamentally challenge the narrative. But gaming's cognitive benefits extend well beyond reaction time. Problem-solving games like Portal, The Witness, or even classic titles like Myst require players to construct mental models of complex systems, test hypotheses, and iterate rapidly based on feedback. That is the scientific method, dressed up in pixels and narrative. Strategy games like Civilization and StarCraft demand long-term planning, resource management, and adaptive thinking under pressure. Research from the Max Planck Institute showed that playing Super Mario 64 for just 30 minutes a day over 2 months produced measurable increases in gray matter in regions associated with spatial navigation, memory formation, and strategic planning. And then there is the social dimension, which is perhaps the most misunderstood aspect of gaming's impact on society. The stereotype of the isolated gamer alone in a dark basement has never been less accurate than it is right now. Today, over 70% of gamers play with others, online, in person, or both. Games like World of Warcraft built functioning economies, complex social hierarchies, and genuine communities that spanned continents. Researchers studied these virtual economies so closely that economists at major universities began using them as models to understand real-world market behavior. The game literally became a laboratory for social science. During the COVID-19 pandemic, this social function became critically important. With physical socialization suddenly impossible, millions of people turned to gaming platforms to maintain human connection. Animal Crossing: New Horizons sold over 43 million copies in its first year as people used its gentle, collaborative world to host virtual birthday parties, graduation ceremonies, and therapy sessions. Nintendo had accidentally built a mental health platform. The game's calming structure, sense of daily routine, and low-stakes social interaction provided measurable psychological benefits during one of the most isolating periods in modern history. But here is what nobody talks about: the dark side of gaming's social impact is real, and ignoring it does everyone a disservice. The World Health Organization officially recognized gaming disorder as a diagnosable condition in 2018. While the actual prevalence is relatively low, estimated between 1 and 3% of gamers, the psychological mechanisms behind it are deeply concerning. Games are increasingly designed using the same behavioral reinforcement loops found in slot machines. Variable reward schedules, artificial scarcity, social pressure, and monetization systems like loot boxes exploit psychological vulnerabilities in ways that generate billions in revenue while potentially damaging vulnerable users, particularly adolescents. Studies from Oxford Internet Institute researcher Andrew Przybylski found that moderate gaming, around 1 hour per day, was actually associated with higher well-being in children compared to non-gamers. But beyond 3 hours per day, benefits began to level off and in some cases reverse. The relationship between gaming and mental health is not binary. It is deeply contextual, dependent on what you play, how you play, who you play with, and what else is happening in your life. That nuance almost never makes headlines because nuance does not generate outrage, and outrage generates clicks. The economic and career impact of gaming on society also deserves serious attention. Game development is now one of the fastest-growing sectors in the global technology economy. The United States alone employs over 220,000 people directly in game development, with average salaries significantly above the national median. Esports athletes at the top level earn millions in prize money, sponsorships, and content revenue. Game streaming on platforms like Twitch and YouTube has created an entirely new category of entertainment career that did not exist 15 years ago. Children who grew up playing video games are now building careers in programming, digital art, narrative design, virtual reality, and artificial intelligence, skills that the gaming industry helped cultivate. Perhaps the most underappreciated impact of video games on society is their role as a medium for empathy and storytelling. Games like The Last of Us, This War of Mine, and Papers, Please place players inside morally complex situations with genuine emotional weight. This War of Mine puts you in the role of a civilian survivor in a besieged city, forcing you to make impossible ethical choices about scavenging, shelter, and survival. The game was adopted by Polish educational authorities as a teaching tool for history classes, precisely because its interactive nature creates emotional understanding that textbooks cannot replicate. That is the power of the medium at its best. When we step back and look at the full picture, the impact of video games on society is not a simple story of good or evil. It is the story of a profoundly powerful medium that arrived faster than our institutions, regulations, and cultural frameworks could handle. Gaming has demonstrably enhanced cognitive skills, built global communities, driven economic growth, and expanded the boundaries of storytelling as an art form. It has also enabled addiction mechanics, contributed to sedentary behavior patterns, and created spaces where toxic behavior can flourish without accountability. Both of these things are true simultaneously. The question is not whether video games are good or bad. The question is how we as a society choose to engage with them, thoughtfully, critically, and with the full weight of evidence guiding us forward. Before you go, if you learned something valuable today, hit that like button right now. Subscribe to Pixel Pulse for a brand new video every single day. We will see you in the next one.